So here we are over at the area where you're going to weigh your waxes. One of the things I should be more careful about is making sure I'm not setting my waxes down on a bunch of filings or something. I'm going to show you guys how to use the gram scale because I just like it. It's old-fashioned. We do have this one for people who like to push buttons. I like knobs better. And so the first thing you want to notice is that I've got this wax to metal ratio. And so we're going to be working in silver. And so 10.5 is the number that I need to multiply once I figure out my waxes. So you're going to see where I've written here wax with sprue weight plus a gram for the button. So make sure that you get your sprues on your waxes before you weigh them. And then we weigh them and we add a gram in the wax and then we multiply it. And so this is kind of cool to show that gold is heavier than silver, silver is heavier than bronze. And look at how lightweight aluminum is. And I have cast aluminum. I'm kind of a fan of aluminum. If anybody wants to do that, I've got to talk you through protocols of working with aluminum in the studio because aluminum melts at 1200 degrees and 1200 degrees is annealing temperature. You get any aluminum on gold and silver and it burns holes through it. So this is really going to be a good chart for you. Somebody really smart in my class said, well, this is gold here, but what about if it's 18 karat gold or if it's 14 karat gold or if it's 10 karat gold? And I thought, good for you for thinking of that. It's still close enough. These are kind of ballpark things. But yes, 18 karat gold is 75% gold. And you know, 10 karat is 48%. So it would be a little different, but I've never found that I needed to change that out for the carats that are there. So I'm going to take this, I've got everything pushed back on 0, and I notice that my scale is weighing in at 0. So when you're finished, everything should go back. I'm going to toss these up here, and then I'm going to use the dial, and I'm just going to keep dialing until it comes back to 0. And being a kinesthetic learner, this is so much more fun than a digital thing. So I'm kind of at 3 grams, 3.2 grams, okay? So 3.2 grams is my sprue and my item, and now I need to add a gram for the button. So really your button is always gonna be 10.5 or 13.5, right? A lot of times people forget to put the button in. What happens is that button actually pushes the rest of the metal in and really compresses the casting, and you get a better casting. So don't forget the button. So if I'm at 3.2, now I'm going to need a number of 4.2. And I'm going to take 4.2 and I'm going to times it by 10.5. And that's how much metal I'm going to need. Okay. So when I'm done here, I'm going to slide this off. I'm going to back that to 0. If we want to do this, you got to turn this one on. And then what you've got to look for here is it's got ounces, penny weights, grams, and we're working in grams because this is a gram scale. And so I had somebody go home and weigh their waxes on a penny weight scale, and then they came back and the numbers didn't work out and she was short metal. So to clear this, there we go. I can take and I can throw my waxes up on that. And this says 3.14, right? So we're close, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think they're accurate enough for what we're doing in here. Just always check and make sure that it's here where it says grams. Don't change that because now it's ounces. So I'll know I need 0.1120 ounces for my casting without the button. Okay. So feel free to use this, but just be aware and try both. Okay. So I've got these. Now I need to calculate my weight. So it was 3.2, right?
Yep, 4.2 with the button.
Yep. So I've got 4.2 because it was 3.2 plus 1. And now I've got to times it by 10.5, right? Oh, let's see if I can do this right. 20. Is that right?
Looks right to me.
Okay. How often do we use math anymore at the calculator? So this is 50.1. I'm just gonna round it off to 52. That's gonna be plenty for what I need. Don't forget that number, because if you get ready to cast, what we're gonna do is invest this, and then we're gonna write your name and the amount of metal and the type. So mine's gonna be STG, it's gonna say hull on it, and it's gonna be on the top of the flask. That way when I go home and I come back the next day, I've lost this piece of paper, I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is relight this, turn it on its side. And what I wanna do is I just kind of wanna smooth out this top section. And the reason why I wanna do that is this is part of the casting. So I just want it smooth. And you don't have to put wax all the way down the side. The rubber will accommodate that. So I find people putting wax all the way around. You really just need some wax on the top to stick your sprues on. And if you stick to within that circle there, you're gonna have a better casting. So I'm gonna set this up. Got my hands resting on the table. I'm gonna heat that up. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna push down. I'm gonna hold it for a minute. And I have it tilted a little bit because I want any bubbles from the underside to come up. So I went in, pinched down, hot, went in, pinched this, pulled it together and melted it. Okay? It's leaning a little bit more than what I wanted. What I might want to do is take a little bit of wax. This flame here isn't helping. And then just add a little around the edge so that I have to have the fillet there too, right? Because that's part of the casting. And then this one, I know I don't want it facing this way because the bubbles might get on that. So I'm gonna just put it tilted at an angle like this. And then later in the quarter, when we start thinking about our linkage project and we have to do multiples, I'll be showing you guys how to do a tree. And I'm working all the way around this so that I have no undercuts. And I think I'm gonna be ready to cast. Stand this guy up a little bit more. Worried a little bit, it seems it'll be okay. So from here, we'll get together and I'll show you about the investing process. But what I'm going to do now, the trick is always to get your flask on without knocking off your pieces. And you just push one side in and then stretch that rubber over it. And now the most important thing to know in the spruing system is put this across the top and then kind of get a measurement of how far down. So I've got from my finger to the end of this, which is more than a ½ inch. So I know that I'm gonna have plenty of support of investment on top when I cast. And I'll measure this flask and then we'll mix the water and plaster and invest it. But we'll do that next time.